We're here at the UiPath Together Public Sector Summit with Ben Amaba, Vice President, Strategic Partnerships at Clarifai. Ben, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Let me start by asking, where has AI and automation made a meaningful difference in how the government serves the public these days?
You know, it's done excellent. AI and automation is one of the fastest growing technologies around the world. It's kind of like AI validation and verification with automation, effectiveness versus efficiency, or doing the right things right. Once we understand those concepts, we actually see how AI and automation serve the public. There are three major areas where AI and automation have worked. The first one, of course, is latency or time. Using AI and automation allows us to do the right things at the right time correctly. So it shrinks that latency, and everybody expects, in today's world, an immediate response. The second area, I call it knowledge management, how this has affected knowledge management. This is where the service level, we expect even better answers, more accurate and more precise answers. When we can shrink the latency and AI can help us focus on key events and then execute with automation, we are answering the right things the right way. So what do? We raise our service level or the quality of our response. The third area actually is correlated to the first two. When you can actually focus, get rid of the latency, and actually use that latency to answer the right questions, you actually optimize all your materials, machinery, and resources. So how is the government using AI and automation? They're using it for validation and verification, effectiveness and efficiencies, or doing the right things right by getting rid of time, removal of time. We're getting better service levels, and we're reusing the knowledge we know, continuous improvement.
And next, what do you see is driving the growth of AI and automation in government more specifically? And how do you see that changing in the year ahead, and why?
Yeah, it's going to improve, right? It's ultimately. Harvard Business Review said AI is not going to get rid of people, but people that use AI will actually be the superior process. So where is it actually improving, and where are the three elements that's getting good? One is the number one process. Deming will say in all the systems that have been out there that 85 to 94% of the issue is in the process. It's not actually in the technology. It's the embedding of the technology into the process. So we see it improving there, and it's only going to get better as we learn more and more. The second area that we're really getting good at is talent. Talent is actually educating. You can take an AI course online, or you can read it in the journal, but it won't stop there. And the final one that we're seeing is data and technology. Now that we're getting more data and more open-ended technology, that we can create a hybrid environment, taking legacy and new innovations, it's going to get better. So those are the three areas: process, getting better at people, and then actually the data and technology is going to advance it forward. Now, we still have a journey to go, and it's important that these venues occur because it's raising the body of knowledge.
And then next, how far along would you say agencies are in training employees to use AI and automation, either to do their jobs more efficiently or do more valuable work?
Great question. That is a very broad question, and it's like trying to stereotype a certain population. What we actually see, and there's our dichotomies, whether it's the defense or civilian or a particular agency. So it's hard to say or pinpoint where is everybody in the maturity life cycle. But what I will say is there's three factors that actually determine where they are in their life cycle. It's reason to do it, the readiness to do it, and the resource. Now, most people jump to the resource prematurely without looking at the reasons and the readiness. So let's talk about that so we can elaborate on it before we get to the resource. The reason is you've got to be sure why you're doing it. You've got to solve a customer issue, an internal issue, an external issue. So it could be pressure from inside. I've got to be more efficient. It could be pressure outside. The citizens you serve require different needs, or it could be a combination of both. That's the reason. You need to be definitive on that. Then you get to the readiness. Now, people skip readiness a lot because there's three elements in readiness. Do you have the leadership, like we've seen at this venue, to actually take you on that journey? The second part, are people willing to take that journey with you, right? A captain without a crew doesn't go very far. The final one that, again, is very elusive to most people is actually, do you have a structured process? And when I say structured process, if you don't understand the process you're enduring or the process that you solve a problem, then you could be doing the wrong things right. So again, what do we see? You need management support, people that are willing to take the journey and a structured process to take that journey. Now let's talk about finally the resources, which a lot of people jump to. The resources including, do I have funding? Do I have the talent, right? Because of the overall resignation and competing for talent. And now do I have the infrastructure, the data, the technology, Moore's Law. But the other two steps, reason and readiness, is what I call Metcalfe's Law. Without that connection, Moore's Law actually falls off the side of the earth there.
And then lastly, how do you see AI and automation continuing to evolve from the back office kinds of work to more mission-centric activities in government? And what will help accelerate that?
Great question. In fact, that's the illusion, or it's elusive to most technologies, going from back office or indirect to direct mission-critical systems. And that's why most technologies start in the indirect. It's less risky. Now, we'll go back to the original one, process, people, and technology, because that's where it's going to differentiate, where we're going to make a bridge from indirect operations to direct operations. So the process itself, in order to make the bridge, has got to be more disciplined. In the other areas, you could understand the process and sub-process. On a mission-critical area, you're going to have to use techniques like critical path method, performance evaluation review text, things that you can actually measure. So that's number one. To go to mission critical, you've got to be able to measure what you manage. The second area here too is the people. Unlike what we do in indirect operations, in order to get into direct operations or mission critical, I believe we're going to have better education systems, a certification approach, or even a licensing program. And why is that? Because in everything that's safety critical around the world, there's always a third-party validation and verification, just to put another set of eyes there. So that's what's going to happen to people. The technology has got to catch up. And what's different about the technology? No vendor lock-in. We've got to have open APIs, and we've got to democratize not only the AI part of it, the automation part of it, but how they work together. That's the only way we're going to go from indirect operations to mission critical or direct operations with this technology.
Well, Ben, Amaba, thank you so much for sharing not only your observations, but also some of these best practices about AI and automation in government.
Excellent. It was an honor to be here.